Hello students, today we'll see about the energy management. So people are talking about energy management everywhere and we'll see what energy management is. So what is energy management? So I'll give you the definition. The energy management is a process of tracking and optimizing energy consumptions to conserve usage in a building. Like any building, we are spending a lot of energy, electrical energy, water energy. So how to manage, how to optimize the energy consumption? So we have to track and we have to optimize the energy consumption. Why? To conserve the usage in a building. So there are few steps for the process of energy management. The first one is we have to collect and analyze continuous data. How the energy is coming, how much energy is coming. So we have to collect and analyze. The second one is we have to identify optimization in equipment schedules where we can optimize it. We have to identify that in which equipment and when we have to optimize. So we have to identify optimizations in energy equipment schedules, and we have to set points and flow rates to improve energy efficiency. Then we have to calculate the return of investment. The unit of energy saved can be metered and calculated just like units of energy delivered. Like how we are managing, you take any electricity, we are having a meter to measure the unit of energy spent or delivered, right? At the same way, we can do a meter to measure the unit of energy saved. A third point is execute energy optimization solutions. So after finding a solution, we have to execute it. And fourth one is repeat second to continue optimizing energy efficiency, because once you have done it, you should not think that it is dusted. So we have to keep on identifying the optimization in equipment schedules, set points, flow rates, everything. And then we have to keep on improving ourselves. That's called energy management. How energy management works? So in the last slide I explained, right, the same way. There are 4 steps to the energy management process, and we'll cover them one by one. Okay. The first one is data collection. There is no secret here. The more data you can get, the more detailed it is better, right? You have to collect a lot of data. Energy data can come from your monthly utility bill, from a manual meter checks. That's an old school approach, once a week or once a month, right? And or from an automatic upload from a smart meter. If you have a digital energy meter, you can get that. So monthly bills might be an easy starting point, but you will see the limits of that approach very quickly. The lack of details in terms of time, area, and type of energy use makes it difficult to find useful insights. So manual meter checks can give you a day-to-day curve, but this process is time-consuming and error-prone. Smart meters that can, that record, store, and transmit data, where it can be viewed and processed using a dedicated software platform. That is very, very ideal case actually, the smart meters. So however you choose to get your data, it is necessary first step. You have to collect the data. That's the first step. Now the second step, to identify opportunities. So when you begin to investigate and analyze your data, you will begin to find interesting bits of information. It may be an increase in your monthly bill after adding a new air conditioning unit, or an increase of lighting use during overtime hours. Sometimes you may see that after 10 o'clock, some veranda light will be always on till 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. That's waste, right? So you can see those kind of areas. So whatever the situation, you need proper visualization. You have to put up graph, and you have to put proper analytics to find out what's happening behind the raw data. This can be difficult to achieve by spreadsheet, but simple year-on-year comparison can be a good starting point. So you collect all your last year's electricity bill, previous year's electricity bills, like that. Then you can compare. There are also energy management software solutions that can help you visualize trends and break data into robust metrics. And it can assess the performance against various benchmarks. These are especially useful when dealing with a huge amount of real-time data and exploring energy saving opportunities. The third step is action. What to do? So you collected data, you have analyzed it, now you have to get into action. Achieving savings requires action. So when you identify opportunities for saving, the natural next step is to act on them. Some solutions may be one-off fixes, while others may need more internal cooperation persuasion. Building support for action can be more challenging than the action by itself. It helps to provide clear evidence of the saving opportunity. When everyone agrees and understands that there is a problem, you can build momentum to take action and solve it. You can create graphs, presentations yourself, or share the findings through cloud software also. Next, last step is a fourth step. Track progress and ongoing improvement. See, now that you are taking the right action to save energy, but it's time to track the process and implement an ongoing improvement schedule. So new problems will arise over time, but old one may reoccur. You need to understand why it is occurring, why new problem is coming. So you always have to have a track to ensure your energy optimization initiatives that will succeed in long run. You need to monitor your progress. You have to verify your savings and you have to respond quickly to abnormalities. Make sure your energy management system can provide you with the regular performance reports and timely alerts. If you get that, you can quickly respond, right? This lets you address problems immediately. But even without an advanced tool, you should still input your monthly bill into a spreadsheet and can make sure everything stays on track. It can be done. So you start from your house. Take, last year bill, this year bill, year bill, and analyze why it is happening. How can we save it? Whether the fridge is running all the time, whether UPS is running all the time, and whether the tube light is running all the time, whether TV is switched off in the meter, in the switchboard. You can see everything. Small savings will help you a bigger return. So why to manage your energy? Why? See, energy management is a foundation for saving energy at your organization level. A recent study by the US Energy Information Administration projected that world energy consumption will grow 48% between 2012 to 2048. With the growing demand and shrinking supply of non-renewable natural resources like coal and other things, energy costs are set to rise. Definitely it will rise. There is a demand, it is increasing every day, and the supply is very low. So definitely your cost will go high. So in addition, there are some regulators worldwide, they are pushing for more stringent sustainability standards. They are putting a lot of laws, rules. Singapore will introduce a carbon tax on greenhouse gases from 2019. They have introduced. In 2011, FTSE, there is another organization, launched the FTSE for Good ESG ratings to measure and rank companies' environmental and social and governance risk. That is called ESG, environmental, social and governance risk, and its performance. They are going to put up rank. Following its counterpart in Hong Kong, the Singapore Exchange, that is SGX, that exchange also mandated sustainability reporting for listed companies in 2016. You have to submit your energy reporting. Only then you will be accepted as one of the listed company in the exchange. This mandates business to objectively review and report their environmental and social impact in operations and corporate governance. We need to save energy in general for our planet to reduce the damage what we are doing, right? And reduce our dependence on the fossil fuels that are becoming rare. So why it matters? Why? Energy management is a means to controlling and reducing a building's energy consumption, which enables owners and operators to reduce cost, reduce carbon emission and global damage they cause, and it is to reduce the risk. So what is reduce cost? That energy represents 25% of all operating cost in an office building. Like that, you have to reduce the cost. You should say, I will spend only 25% of total cost, operating cost. Reduce carbon emission in order to meet internal sustainability goals and regulatory requirements. The third one is reduce the risk. The more dependent and consumer of energy you are, the higher the risk on your profitability is. So reduce the risk. That more energy you consume, the greater the risk that energy price increases or supply shortages could seriously affect your profitability. With energy management solutions, you can reduce this risk by reducing your demand for energy and by controlling it so as to make more predictable. In such a world, saving energy makes good business sense. Of course, anything worth doing is worth doing well. Having a structured approach to energy management can maximize benefits and reduce risk. As energy management has developed, the role within an organization has changed over time. So there are two ways of thinking. One is a old way of thinking, another one is a new way of thinking. So I'll tell you the aspect and then I'll tell you the old way of thinking and new way of thinking, okay? So for example, if you take energy audit, the old way of thinking is energy audits lead to projects being implemented. Energy audit should be mandatory. These are old way of thinking. But now what we have to do? Energy audits on their own don't lead to anything. Audit will not do anything. There needs to be a top level commitment. And energy audits are just a tool to use when you are committed to addressing energy efficiency. You have to act on it. Energy audits need to feed into better business cases that identify value and risk appraisal, all sources of value. That is, all the energy and non-energy benefits. It has to address. Audit will not help. It's a tool. That's the first one. Next one is the benefits of improving energy efficiency. See, normally the people will say that the benefits are energy cost savings. The direct environmental benefits, that is tons of carbon dioxide avoided, maybe a social benefit for CSR reporting. I have avoided tons of carbon dioxide. No, it's an old way. The new way of thinking is there are multiple non-energy benefits, many of which are far more strategic and they are very interesting to decision makers than mere cost energy reduction. It need not stop only energy cost reduction. It has its own interesting results. Energy savings may be least attractive benefit of a project that improve energy efficiency and should be sold last as a co-benefit to the non-energy benefits. Next point, monitoring and targeting, that is M&T, and measurement and verification, M&V. Okay. So in this aspect, monitoring and targeting, so M&T, there should be an enterprise level M&T with some project specific M&V on large projects. Anything else beyond that, submetering, etc. is expensive. I'm not affordable. But it is not like that. Nowadays, M&T and M&V, that is data collection and analysis, is cheap nowadays. The advent of big data analytics can identify saving opportunities even in systems that are believed to be close to optimum. Monitoring is a part of ISO 50001's plan. So do and check, act on that. So you have to have a do, check, act cycle and is embedded into every energy management system. In your office, in your organization, you have to have an energy management system. There should be a department. Next point, energy service companies and energy performance contracts. See, energy service companies and energy performance contracts are answer to all our problems. That's an old way of thinking. But new way, energy service companies, and energy performance contracts are applicable in some limited circumstances, mainly in a public sector. They are not only the answer, but they definitely don't work. They don't work at all in most sectors. ESOs and EPCs are only one of many ways to bring finance to energy efficiency projects. Next point, measurement of energy savings. It is hard to measure because it is a counterfact, right? It's a counterfactual and it is invisible. It can't be metered. Like that they will talk. But now, units of energy saved can be metered and calculated just like units of energy delivered. It is possible. There are so many meters available. Energy efficiency is somehow special. That's the next point. Energy efficiency is somehow special. In old way, it is a standalone activity. It is a crusade. It should have a high priority than anything else. But nowadays, energy efficiency is a part of an integrated energy solution, including self-generation, demand response, etc. Good energy management is one aspect of good management. Next point, project development. The project development is not standardized, and every project is developed and documented in a different way. Every project developer has some secret sauce in developing the project, and even when the technologies are well known and standard, they will keep it as a secret. That's an old way of thinking. Project development in new way. Project development and documentation can be standardized using systems such as investor confidence projects, investor ready energy efficiency, like we can do it. Standardization of project development and documentation is very much essential for aggregation and growing the finance market. Project developers don't really have to have a secret sauce. It's open. It's white paper. Next point, making the business case. So now old ways, the business case is purely about capital expenditure. They will think about only capital expenditure versus the value of the energy savings over the life of the project. How much you have to spend is called capital expenditure, the first on the machine or something. And how much we are going to save. That's how they thought. But new ways, the business case is about the capex versus the value of multiple energy and non-energy benefits. It's not only energy saving, it's a multiple energy and non-energy savings, energy benefits over the life of the project, of which energy savings is just one among it. Non-energy benefits may be more strategic and attractive to decision makers than just energy savings. For example, if you save energy, you will think that I have saved this much amount of energy. But after saving that much amount of energy, you may get some other additional benefit, right? Some people like to work with you because the energy is saved and the environment is very good. So that is an additional advantage. So that is now considered as a new way, right? Next point is risk and uncertainty. Risk and uncertainty. Energy efficiency projects have low or sometimes even zero risk. This was often stated even though we had no data and in fact outcomes were uncertain. But the new way, recognition that energy efficiency projects do have risk, although we often can't quantify the risk at this moment. Risk is generally low across portfolios of projects and it is becoming better known and understood, but for individual projects, actual risks are less well known. Next point. Energy management. Energy management is a practice that is hard to systematize and is highly dependent on individuals, like that they thought. But now the practices that can be systematized and it is embedded into the operation of an enterprise through the application of ISO 50001. Next point, the value of a kilowatt saved is the same at all times in all locations. That's how they thought, but it is highly time and location specific nowadays. Now, project development. What is a project development? Project development is optimizing the component. That's called project development. But nowadays it is not that. It is optimize the system. That is integrated design, which is still not very common at all, right? Earlier they thought about only component. Nowadays it is like a system. Now energy prices. Energy prices, what happens? Old way of thinking is energy prices will always go up. But nowadays we think that it go up and down. It will go up and I'll do something. Then again it will come down. Then again it will go up. I'll do some more things, optimization. Then it will come down like that. So it will be up and down. The last point, availability of investment. No, not last point. It's the next point. The availability of investment. So there is no money for energy efficiency. That's a old way of thinking. But here now, there is lot of money for energy efficiency. Just a shortage of well-developed bankable projects. It's one more project, that's all. Next point. Chief financial officers and finance directors. What is that? See, in old way, the chief financial officers are stupid for not investing in these no-brainer projects with very rapid payback period. CFOs are stupid. They don't invest. But nowadays, CFOs are maybe rational in not investing, but that is, they may have more strategic things to invest in, or they may consider the benefits uncertain because they have not seen the evidence or they don't believe the assessment. That's a new way of thinking. CFOs, they will not spend. We'll have to convince them to spend. Okay. Next point is low hanging fruit. It's very easy to achieve. There are a lot of no cost or low cost project that can be implemented easily. It's a low hanging fruit. That's an old way of doing. Nowadays they are saying that there still are many no cost or low cost measures that could be implemented through better energy management and by applying ISO 50001. We should, however, ban the phrase as even no cost or low cost measures require effort. That's a new way of thinking. About the energy efficiency, it comes about through specific retrofit projects with the aim of reducing energy costs. Energy efficiency comes about through retrofit investment into plant and building refurbishments carried out for other non-energy reasons and through investments in a new plant building that improve average efficiency of the sector. We will not retrofit is like old projects, old way of doing it, retrofit. But we will not do that. We will go for a new one. New way, new energy, new reasons, new investment, new plant, new building. We can save energy. Instead of correcting the old one, we'll go for a new one. Next one is the renewables. Earlier they thought that one day they will be available, they will be viable, like that. But nowadays, renewable, they are cost effective in many situations. We have to go for renewable energy sources. Next one is energy storage. Old way is electricity cannot be stored. Only viable in massive hydroelectric schemes. And the holy grail of great energy studies, right? That's how they thought. But nowadays people are thinking that it is available in several forms. Energy can be stored. And it is rapidly becoming cheaper. Economically viable in many situations behind the meter and in the grid. So that's how they are thinking. So now you think of all these points in energy management. So there are 4 important points. One is collecting data. Second one is identifying where to optimize. And third one is execution. And fourth one is repeating the same again and again and again, improving it. That's how we have to work on energy management. Okay. Thanks, buddies.